probably the most foolish thing I did. Once I was sneaking up to a nest with my Nerf ball, and I saw a bear coming out of the bush about 50 meters away, and it was headed towards the flicker nest, which was at chest level. So I did not want the bear to rip through my nest. So I charged the bear with my Nerf ball. I just started yelling, and I went like, "Get away, bear!" Like, "Boo!" And fortunately, it ran the other way. And then, like afterwards, I thought that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. It was like jousting a bear with a Nerf ball. So why did I become a scientist? I guess from a very young age, I just really liked watching birds and animals in nature, even from the time I was 3 years old. So I started collecting insects when I was 3 years old and watching birds from my backyard when I was the same age. So when people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I remember in grade 1 saying, "I want to be a biologist." So I always thought I would be a biologist, but of course when you're young you don't know anything about the jobs in biology. So all of that came much later when I was in university, and I could then see people actually doing research and studying things. So then kind of as an undergraduate, I figured that's what I wanted to do as a career. How does my identity as a scientist exist with other identities? I guess it's just a part of who I am, that I don't so much think of myself as a scientist most times. If people ask me what I do, I usually say I study birds. Being a scientist kind of sounds old and stuffy, so I don't usually tell people I'm a scientist. But yeah, I think I just like to observe nature, and I'm always kind of thinking of why do things happen the way they happen? Why do animals behave the way they do? So a scientific outlook, I guess, is kind of part of how I naturally look at things and look at nature. I guess you start to realize that you are also part of ecosystems that are changing, and you realize how closely the birds are related to their own habitats and their own ecosystems. And to see those being destroyed really gets emotional when you realize the impact that it's having on your study animals and on the birds that you really get to know and love. And so especially with flickers, seeing the important role they play in forests really changed my perspective of how interlinked ecosystems are and how reliant we sometimes are on small species and small interactions that we normally don't think much about. What is the next big scientific question? I guess from my perspective as an ornithologist, the looming question has to be climate change. So that is just such a large question over the whole globe that has many potential impacts, from everything to migration routes, to food supplies, to interactions between predators, how birds survive. So just considering how that's going to materialize in the coming years and how fast it's going to have consequences, I think a lot of research is shifting to try to understand and how we can mitigate the effects and predict and hopefully help out species that are going to be in a lot of practical trouble in the next little while.